Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermatch, and today I'm going to be doing part two of my review reaction to James Blish's Cities in Flight novel collection, part of the Sci-Fi Masterworks series. And so um, today I'll just get right into it. As you may remember, I did part one of this review on the first two novels in this collection. There's four in here, and so we're gonna start off today with novel number three in here, Earthman Come Home. So in this third short novel of this collection, we're kind of thrown further into the future with our point of view character, and who is the mayor of New York. That just sounds funny. John Amalfi. Um, and these novels in this collection are published in chronological order. But this novel, Earthman Come Home, is actually published first. So I think it was written first. It's the longest and most boring and most unnecessary of the three books. It was originally published in serial form in two complete science adventure books. That was the name of the serial books in 1953, and then combined into one book in 1955. The book feels disjointed and chaotic, and as one would expect, like from such a mashing of stories, and that in itself wouldn't turn me off from the book, but the stories within the story just weren't that great. Um, and for one thing, like the dialogue was so stilted and explanatory, and like for instance, there was one part where Amalfi says to D, herself a pastiche of the helpless female that needs to be rescued or taken away from her people for love or for her own good, and also constantly needs things to explain to her by a man. Uh, this book doesn't age that well, but I digress. Amalfi says to her, "I wish you knew more history, D." Then proceeds in dialogue to tell her what she doesn't know and how it all perfectly fits into his reasoning and logic of why he's doing what he has to do. And then, of course, the other guy in the room stands up and says, "Yes, you're right." Uh, so it's most of the book is like that. It's wooden, it's stiff, it's dated. And this, that's not unusual for old science fiction books. But I feel that with other old sci-fi books, at least you get some cool ideas and maybe some philosophical insight into humankind, and you can at least forgive some of the lack of character building that we're used to today. Um, so, but but this book, especially book number three in here, most of the ideas are just so too ridiculous and fantastical to be considered cool scientific ideas, and the insight is just lacking, um, as per that earlier example. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to be gleaned from the pages in his third book. He does have one good point about information and its availability that kind of echoes some of the problems that we may have with the internet today. That is, we no longer need to learn things by rote to keep them in our heads. Anything we need to know is at our fingertips, and this, you know, this could be a cautionary statement about relying too much on machines, and that we should accumulate knowledge for our own sake. Um, so that's a very interesting philosophical idea that he at least puts forth in this third book here. And on the other hand, many, like in the past, thought the same thing about books. The middle aged the Middle Ages, the church had the same fear that books were going to make people reliant on books rather than reliant on themselves. But they also wanted to suppress peasants and not give them knowledge. So, the debate goes on. um, Either way, I feel that Earthman Come Home, the third book in this collection, is completely skippable. Yeah. As we move on to the fourth novel in here called The Triumph of Time. And so, in the fourth book, we kind of get a similar lack of characterization, typical for sci-fi books of this age, and we get a plodding, kind of uninspired plot. But we do get a story that is a single cohesive unit. So at least it's followable and it's not disjointed and chaotic. Amalfi, unfortunately, continues to be our main point of view, but there are some new characters that are given spotlight at times, which at least raises the interest level a bit in our caring what actually happens. For some ideas, Blish gives us a quote from the Quran at the beginning of Book 4, and he also brings up various facets of religion throughout this book, and it sparks some philosophical debate about the viewpoints of differing religious affiliation and how it could tie into the limited life of the universe. Um, it's not enough though. I wish he would have put more of that in there instead of the this slow plodding plot that he has. It would have been nice to have a bit more of that um, dive into philosophy. The one saving grace of the book is actually the final 6-page chapter, and it's hard to talk about that without giving too much away. But he has like some nice poetic descriptions. There's one about a glass of wine as it's kind of used as a metaphor for the situation. So um, it was some of his better writing in these last two books. The the ending was satisfying for what the book was really, and it kind of redeemed the book in a way that various religions hope to redeem their flock. So I guess if that's you know the philosophy and religion you wanted to talk about in the book, there you go. So there's some really big ideas in book 4 here in The Triumph of Time, and as you could probably infer from the title, maybe the biggest idea of all. So whether it's worth getting there, well, I think that's actually a question that we all wrestle with in all aspects of our life. And that's probably one of the themes that Blish plays with in this final novel in the Cities of Flight collection. So, with all that information at hand, I feel it's really up to you, the reader, the viewer here, to determine whether this is something that you would want to get to. I think the first two novels were better written, and I think they were published later um, than the second two novels in this collection. So I think maybe Blish maybe have improved a little bit in his writing acumen. So keep that in mind. And these novels, they can all be kind of read on their own. They're a little bit self-contained, though there are connecting ideas from one to the next. So in all, that's what you get from Cities in Flight. And please like and subscribe below if you like this little explanation of Cities in Flight. And don't forget to be good to each other.